Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're digging into a pretty incredible concept from Google, a next-gen AI coding tool they're calling anti-gravity. This thing was unveiled right alongside their powerful new Gemini 3 model. And let me tell you, it's aiming to be way more than just another AI code assistant. So let's just kick things off with a thought experiment, right? What if your AI assistant wasn't just, well, an assistant? What if it was also your project manager, your tester, and your designer? That's the big question here. And it seems like Google's answer is an AI agent that can handle the whole shebang, taking a feature from a simple idea all the way to done. So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to look at 5 key areas that really show what anti-gravity is all about, from how it acts as a developer to planning, managing a whole team of these agents, how it codes and tests, and yeah, even how it gets creative. All right, let's get right into it. First things first, what is anti-gravity really? Because it's not just a single tool. Think of it more as a whole new environment, a combination of a few really powerful ideas. At its heart, anti-gravity is trying to be the single, unified place for building software. The big idea is to pull everything the AI could possibly need, your code, your project files, even documentation from the web, all into one spot. That way, the AI has the full context, the whole picture to work with. And this whole system is really built on 3 main parts that all talk to each other. First, you've got the editor, a pretty standard place to write code. Then there's the agent manager. This is where you can tell different AIs what to do and keep track of them. And finally, and this is super important, there's a browser that the AI can actually use by itself. It's like its own little window to the internet. Okay, so now that we know what it is, let's talk about how you actually work with this thing, especially on the bigger, more complicated tasks, because it's not just about barking orders at it. It's really designed to be a collaboration. So anti-gravity gives you 2 ways to play. If you've got a simple, quick task, you can use what they call fast mode. You just tell it what to do and bam, it does it. But for the heavy lifting, for the more complex features, you switch over to planning mode. And this is where things get really interesting because it adds this super important review step. This whole collaboration thing is built around a really smart 4-step process. You give it a prompt, right? But here's the key. It doesn't just blindly start writing code. No way. First, it comes back to you with a super detailed implementation plan. It's basically saying, here's how I think we should build this. And you get to look it over, add comments, kind of like in a Google Doc, and make sure you're both on the same page. It won't write a single line of code until you give it the green light. And this just completely changes the dynamic, doesn't it? You're not just telling an AI what to do, you're working with it, like a teammate, guiding its strategy before the work even starts. You can even jump in with comments while it's working, making that feedback loop feel way more natural. And as it's working, the AI agent is constantly creating what they call artifacts. Think of these as its project documents, just simple markdown files that show you exactly what it's thinking and doing. It keeps its own to-do list, it writes up that formal plan we talked about, and when it's all done, it gives you a final walkthrough report to prove that it did the job right. Okay, so that's how you work with one agent on one task. But now let's scale this up. Let's talk about the agent manager, because this is where you go from having a single AI coworker to managing an entire AI team. The whole idea here is summed up perfectly by this phrase, multi-thread your brain. I mean, think about it. As a developer, you're constantly jumping between tasks, fixing a bug here, building a new feature there. What if you could just delegate each of those jobs to a different AI agent and have them all work at the same time? And that's the absolute key here. You can spin up multiple agents, give them different tasks, they could even be in totally different projects, and just let them cook in the background. Then, when an agent finishes its job and needs your review, you just get a little ping in a central inbox. It's literally like having a team of junior devs that you can just hand work off to. All right, let's talk about what I think is one of the biggest game changers in anti-gravity, the built-in browser. And I don't just mean a little window to look at websites. This is a tool that the AI actually uses to figure things out and to check its own work. And this first step is so important. Before it writes any code, the agent does its homework. It acts just like a human developer would. So instead of just guessing how a new API works, or worse, making stuff up, it can actually go and read the official documentation to make sure it's doing it right. Yeah, this is way beyond just browsing. It's active research. The AI can literally Google for answers, it can read through documentation pages, it can even run curl requests to test an API endpoint if you give it a key. And the best part? It does all of this in its own separate Chrome profile, so it's not going to mess with your own tabs or logins. But okay, that's the research part. Where this gets really mind-blowing is what happens next. The agent uses that same browser to test the code that it just finished writing. It doesn't just build the thing and walk away. It sticks around to make sure it actually works. What you get is this amazing, fully automated feedback loop. The agent will literally start your local web server, open the app in its browser, and just start using it. It'll click buttons, fill out forms, scroll around the page, everything a user would do, all to check its own work. And it records itself doing all this and puts the video and screenshots into that final walkthrough report as proof that the job is done right. So we've covered coding, planning, and testing, but it doesn't stop there. Antigravity also plugs into Google's latest image models, and this is where your AI developer suddenly puts on a designer hat. With these tools baked right in, you can literally just ask it to design a website and it'll spit out a mock-up. You can tell it, hey, I need an image for this placeholder, and it'll create one. But what's really wild is that you can select a specific part of an image it made and give it edits. You can say, make this spot in a darker shade of green, and it will just do it. Okay, so let's pump the brakes a little and get a reality check. The potential here is obviously huge. An all-in-one AI coding partner sounds incredible. But the reality, right now, is that this thing is still in public preview. And that means, it's not perfect. People say it can be a bit buggy with some errors and timeouts. We also have no idea what it's going to cost yet. And apparently, it's pretty easy to hit the usage limits. But here's the thing. Even with those early days issues, you can feel the excitement around this. People who are using it, bugs and all, are saying they can totally see this becoming their new go-to, their daily driver for coding. They see how it could completely change how they work. So that kind of leaves us with one big question, right? When you pull all of this together, the coding, the project management, the research, the testing, and even the creative design all into one single AI platform, are we looking at the future? Is this how all software is going to be built from now on? It really feels like all the pieces are falling into place.